Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to WeLoveMetal.com. I am on the phone with Will Wallner. How are you doing today, Will?
Hi, good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
No, definitely, no problem at all. We recently did a review of some promo material you had sent over, and I have to say, when you do something, you do it big. We're talking Vinny Appice, Carmine Appice, Rudy Sarzo. How'd this project come together?
Well, it came together really when I met Vivian. I wanted to do some solo material, sort of really make my own music. And when I met Vivian, she was sort of the right vocalist to really do that. And, we did some demos and stuff, and then just by chance meeting, we were at the Rainbow Bar and Grill one night, and, just saw Vinny and Carmine, and I went up to them because I was a huge fan, obviously. And more than anything, I just wanted to meet them and say hi. And then we decided to basically ask them to play drums on the project. And then once we had them, it came together, because once you got those guys, then everyone else is, interested in doing it, obviously. And that's how we got all the great bassists and keys players and stuff like that. And that's kind of, how the whole project started.
Definitely. I just got off the phone about an hour ago with Carmine, and I think you got the ultimate compliment from me. He said you're a great kid with a good sound.
Oh, cool. That's really great, yeah.
When are we going to see the actual release? Do we have a date yet?
There's no date. We've just finished recording all of the tracks, and they're being mixed right now by a guy called Gary Toll in New York. And, that may take maybe a month to finish mixing. And then there's sort of the whole business aspect, because we really don't have a label or anything like that. But we're going to find, a good record label to release it. We're going to do some really good promotion for it. We're not just going to put it out on iTunes. We're going to really promote it well. And then, we'll see what happens. Hopefully sometime later this year, maybe like around sort of September, October time. But, we'll see what happens. We want to do like music videos. We want to, set up some live dates and things like that. So, there's a lot of different pieces other than just the album to sort of pull together. But, yeah, hopefully by later this year.
Definitely. And bringing up Gary, he's mixed for Metallica, Bon Jovi. He's a legend in his own right. How did he come on board?
Yeah, Gary is amazing. You see, this album, it's not like we sort of get together as musicians and like jam, it's very much sort of, the guys, they have their home studio, so they'll record their drums there, and then they'll sort of, send them here, and then, like, there's a guy called Tony Carey who played in Rainbow. He records all of his stuff in Germany and then just sends them to me via email, stuff like that. But Gary pulls everything together and makes it sound like it's all recorded like in the same room, and it's all sort of, solid. We basically found him. We were looking for someone to mix it, and we just started listening to basically, albums that we really liked, and then, looking at the credits, and we were listening to actually Joe Lynn Turner's solo albums, who Gary had mixed all of them, basically. And then we actually contacted him, and it was only after we'd already contacted him that we actually looked at his full discography, and then looked at all these huge names. And it's not just rock and metal. I mean, the guy mixed for like Elton John and like David Bowie and all these like huge names, music. It's phenomenal. And not just music as well. He just stuff for, films and whatever. But he's a really talented guy. He's a great guy, and he's doing a great job on the mixing, yeah.
What's your personal background, Will? How did you get started?
Sure. I'm 24. I've been sort of professional now for a couple of years. I'm from England, obviously, and I started in England. When I was 18, playing local bands and the local sort of circuit. And then I really wanted to take my music to the next level, so I decided to move to Los Angeles. That was a couple of years ago. And then since moving to LA, I'm sort of a session guitar teacher guy here in LA, touring guitarist. I play with local bands. I do recording sessions. I just did a session with a band. We did a session with Bob Kulick. We recorded an EP, which came out really good. And I've toured and stuff like that. That's sort of, on the side. My main thing, though, is my own personal music. That's sort of my goal. And after sort of a couple of years, I'm glad to be able to do my own music because, I sort of, in the day, I'm mostly just doing, sessions for other people. But, so that's sort of my background.
Does Vivian have a similar background?
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, she's from Croatia. Same sort of thing, started off locally, came here to do music. And, LA's an interesting place because it's obviously not the way it was, back in sort of the 80s, everyone sort of thinks. And, but it's really good that we found each other because our influences are so similar. We're into really sort of unique sort of bands, bands like Blue Murder and Rainbow. And so, we really sort of click musically, and then, it's a really good thing that we met because we can write songs, sort of in the style that we're both comfortable with. And that was something I had a problem with too when I first came here, was just finding good musicians who really wanted to do the same sort of thing, make sort of some classic heavy metal.
It's funny you bring that up because it's actually a question I wanted to ask. What is the Sunset Strip like these days? Is it there's not any Motley Crues and Poisons running around anymore?
Well, yeah, it's sort of like a very mixed bag. You've got it's obviously there's hardly any people out there. I mean, that there were, from what I've heard, the streets would just be packed every day back in the sort of the glory days, so to speak. But now it's sort of there's not as many people there. In terms of bands, you sort of have a few bands trying to do basically everything. You've got a few glam bands, a few grunge bands, a few, whatever, sort of from all the different genres of music. One thing that I haven't really seen much is kind of what me and Vivian are trying to do, which is just sort of a classic heavy metal sort of band. There's all these different sub-genres of metal, but we really wanted to get back to basics, just do classic heavy metal, and so yeah, on the strip, it's very it's fun, but there's just I don't know, there's something missing, I think, today than there is from it.
Yeah, maybe a whole industry missing. That might be the problem.
Yeah. The promoters are really, I mean, they really killed it with the whole pay-to-play thing, and they suck all the money out of it, and there's no sort of talent restrictions. If you want to play the biggest venue, it doesn't matter how good you are. All you have to do is pay the money, really. To be totally honest with you, I've seen such terrible bands playing, and they're only playing because they just pay the $1,000 or whatever to pay the Key Club opening for Steel Panther, and there's no sort of restrictions on how good you actually are musically. It's just all about if you have the money. So it's kind of sad, but
it's a terrible state right now.
Yeah.
What I was going to ask you about the song Soul Monster. Is there a history behind that? And you handle the vocals on that, do you not?
Oh, yeah. That is actually from a different project I did. It was about a month before we actually met Vinny and Carmine. I was wanting to, again, do my own solo music, and I had contacted Derek Sherinian and asked him to basically produce this song for me. And I hadn't actually written it or anything. I just contacted him, and then when he agreed to do it, I wrote the song like there and then within sort of like a couple of hours, and we sort of like put it together over the space of about a month. And so that's why that has me singing on it, because it's actually from a different project. Like Derek Sherinian actually produced that at his studio and mixed it for me. But I liked the song so much that I wanted to include it in this project because it's a good song, and sort of didn't want it to go to waste.
Definitely. Do you handle any other vocals on the album?
No, I'm not a singer, really, to be honest with you. I really only sang on that because there wasn't really another singer to do it. I was sort of putting out ads, and there was actually funny enough, one guy, I don't know if you know the band, probably shouldn't say this, but Vain of Jenna, their current singer had phoned me up to ask me to sing on it, but that didn't sort of really work out, so I basically just sang on it myself. And but with Vivian, I'm more than happy to let her sing, because she's a real sort of vocalist, she has the sort of the skills and the chops. I'm more of a a technical singer, so I'm more comfortable just taking care of the guitars, you know.
Definitely. She definitely has a big, powerful voice. I mean, I can't think of anything you could throw at her that she couldn't handle. So.
Yeah, it's a really good thing. I was sort of nervous about going with a female singer, you know, because some people think that, you know, metal's just for guys or whatever, you know, they're slightly immature perhaps, but I think she's a really great singer, you know, great influences and very sort of unique, powerful bluesy voice. So I'm really sort of I think we have something very sort of special and unique, you know.
Well, that and Lita Ford and Lee Aaron sold a lot of records back in the day, so.
Right, yeah, you know, so I'm really sort of I'm hoping when people hear it, they'll sort of, you know, be interested in it.
One thing that I wanted to ask was, you have with all these guest musicians and these legends, is it going to be hard to find a band to play behind you with that skill level?
Right, yeah, very good question. Yeah, obviously, you know, these guys, you know, they have their huge projects going on, and this is just sort of something very small on the side for them, so it'd be unrealistic to think that they would be, you know, willing to play, you know, live with us on a permanent basis. Yeah, well, I'm lucky to have networked with some really great musicians in LA, sort of old school guys. So we do know a bunch of local musicians who would definitely be able to play with us live, but our goal is to always be able to have the best. So maybe there might be some big name musicians backing us who aren't even on the album but are big from other projects. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, when we put the live thing together, there'll definitely be a, you know, really good band, even if it's not the guys who are playing on the album.
Definitely. It is easier sometimes to copy work than it is to make it up. So.
Right.
I just got one final question here to wrap up, Will, and it's something we've asked everyone that we speak to. Living or dead, past or present, who is someone that you would like to share the stage with?
Gosh, very good question. I could probably go on for like hours with this. Well, there's one guy who we would have loved because, you know, we have obviously Vinny and Carmine, who are considered, you know, the most respected rock and metal drummers, really. But I'm a huge fan of Cozy Powell. I would have loved to have been able to play with him. I really, really love him and his drumming, you know, and all the stuff that he did. And so for drums, I'd love to be able to share the stage with Cozy Powell. But sort of alive, obviously, my main two guys are Richie Blackmore and John Sykes. So yeah,
definitely anybody who can refer to Rainbow has got some brilliance in their music. So.
Oh yeah.
I definitely want to thank you for doing this, Will.
Oh yeah, no, thank you very much for having me.